Hello everyone, my name is Seth. You're watching Grey on Tech TV, and today in this session we will be continuing on UI UX development series for Appian. Today we have a special component to discuss in our lecture series, and that is nothing but card as choices. So we'll start with card as choices, basic understanding, and then we'll go to the deep explanation practically. So card as choices, it is a component used as an input component or interface design, and the name is self-explanatory. A bank card choice field. It is used to input. It is used to basically take the user input from the user by showcasing a list of cards. The card can be of any valid data type, which I'll be explaining it later. So the definition says this displays a set of cards from which the user may select one or many cards and save a value based on the selected choice. The choices of the card choices component allows you to create a set of choices using data from records, entities, data subsets, a dictionary, a list of data, or a list of mapping. So let's see what kind of parameters it is expecting as a component. So we start with label position instructions and tooltip. So these are the basic ones which we have seen in previous components as well. So I won't repeat them again. Let's focus on the data. Data is like from where you are sourcing the data for your card to iterate. So we can see the data in the examples. The data can come from record data. It can be coming from a query. It can come from a local variable, or it can come from a data subset returned by an expression rule. Sort, so what kind of configuration you want to apply for sorting your data before populating them into the card so that your card will get the sorted data. You can use ABank sort info. Card template, is there any kind of specific enhancement that you want to do before publishing your data on the card? So you can choose card template tile, card template bar, text justified, or text tagged. While choosing these child functions as a connected argument for this parent function, we can configure them by studying their own documentation. Plus, we are having the data inside the card. So the data that you will configure here can be referred to here in the card definition here as a card template by FEBank index, FEBank identifier, FEBank is first, is last, etc. Then value and save into, it is just like every other input component. We are having value and save into. You're just binding it to a local variable or any variable that you want to bind the data based upon the user input. Maximum number of selections, it is a valid input type where you are having an expected integer value. You can put it one or more than one depending upon how much selections that you want to allow to the user. Align, is it like center, align, start align, or end align? Depending upon what should be the alignment of the card, you can put a value. So show shadow is kind of a card layout configuration. If it is true, so the shadow will be visible. If it is false, it will not. Required and required message, it is just like another, the required condition that you can put up on a component. So if there is any kind of required choice, you can choose the values to be required for the card choice and the required message. If you bypass the values without being, interacting with the field, then you can get a message as a custom message. Disabled, so is there any kind of specific value or any condition that is returning true or false on which you have to make it disabled? Validation group are just another input field configuration. Show when, you can put a specific condition on which the card the card as choice will be visible. Or accessibility text, it is again used for screen readers. I have explained you previously as well. Spacing is new one for us. Spacing means like, is there any kind of specific values like standard, which is by default, or if you want more spacing or even more spacing between the options, then you can choose spacing. As you can see in the documentation, we are having more examples relating to record type. If you copy and paste this, again, this record type is not existing in your environment. Definitely, it will not work. So we'll try to fetch some examples of which are based on local variables. Uh, Again, it is pointing to some entity. So let's directly dive deep into the practical example to see how it works. Let's clear the previous example. Go to design mode, find the component that is card as choices, drop the component. Here we can see we are having standard cards. They are populating by some source data. Let's see what is the source data. Okay, it is a list of maps. List of map is a valid input type for the data argument for this component. Let's cut it out and bind local variables with it. Local variable data and paste it. As you can see that save into is empty. So whatever you interact with, it will never save, right? You have to bind the variable before you interacting before the user or the developer interacting with it. So now you can bind the data. Same what you have to do is with value, because as an input field, value and save into go hand in hand. Forget about the rest of the other nodes. Let's focus on how the data is being saved, right? So value and save into is done and dusted right now. As you can see, the local bank data is initially null. So the moment we are selecting any value, it will save the index of that. So if I select neutral, it will save the index as 2. If I select bad, it will save the index as 3. So whatever choice item you are having, you can choose the index, and based upon that, you can select and point to your logic further in your form or wherever you want to call this card as choice field. Let's focus on the rest of the part of the code now. As you can see, we are having a list of map. The list of map is nothing but key value pairs, of different type. Here we can see ID, and then we are having, string, and then bind it with key value pair. We are having a bank map. Now, instead of a bank map, it is not mandatory. It will only be a list of map. It can be any other source data also, and this map can also come from any other expression rule or any other way from where you can source the data, whether record type, etc. So data part, you are clear. Like, data part is nothing but a collection of rows from which your card will iterate and produce the output. Card template is nothing but how you will populate your uh, data from the how you will populate your output card as choices from the data provided as source. So as you can see, a bank card template tile, and this is nothing but a template tile which is acting as a placeholder for every instance of the row of data that you have put up. So ID will be FE bank ID one by one. Now why we have kept ID? Because it is uniquely identifying each row. If you ignore the ID, then it will be a trouble. Then primary text will be a FE bank primary text, which is this, and then secondary text will be secondary text, and then icon will be FUBank data icon, right? So it is nothing but a template which is looping on every other row item of your source of data, and through this your front end card as choices are ready. How they will interact, or how they will behave on the input of the user will depend upon the variable or the setting up of the variable that you have binded in local, and any local variable or any other variable that you have binded as a rule input or whatever in value and save into property. Maximum selections 1. You can increase the selections based upon that the value will behave. So if I do maximum selections as 2 and then try to interact with the code, and then we'll see. Right now we can see it is null, and I do 2 selections. Here I can see that the data comes in the form of list, which is carrying the indexes. So here you can see that how card as choices will help you to improvise the user experience of the application that you are learning or developing. You can collect feedback from the people, like the developers at any. You can collect feedback from the users from which you are creating a user experience, or you can allow a list of pictorial representations, and you can allow someone to select and input the data based upon whatever indexes you have fetched. You can bring back and fetch the data from your source of data. There are a number of use cases that can depend upon a bank card choice field. If you really like my explanation, and you want me to contribute more on this series, motivate me by subscribing to this channel. Drop a like, comment on any specific topic that you want me to cover, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.